Mississippi, we're live at Mississippi State University today for Children's Advocacy Centers of Mississippi. We're pleased to welcome Crystal Welch, CACM Advisory Board Member, Mississippi College School of Law. Crystal, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. So tell us about your involvement with the Children's Advocacy Centers of Mississippi.
Yeah, so I am an advisory board member. I am immediate past president of the board of directors.
Okay.
And I am particularly honored to be on the board because at the law school, I work in the Family and Children's Law Department. And our law center hires faculty professors who are training law students for practice of law in careers involving child maltreatment.
Okay.
So I do adoption law. I teach youth court law, where we represent juveniles who are accused of committing delinquent acts, who are often committing those delinquent acts in a very circular way. Usually there's some history of neglect or abuse, and then later on there's some actions that rise to the level of a delinquent act, which would be a criminal act if they were an adult, but they're juveniles. Yeah. So I teach that in youth court, and for the adoption clinic, we train the law students to represent the foster families in adoption cases where the children were victims of abuse, neglect, abandonment, or other forms of maltreatment. And so as a part of our curriculum, the law school, Mississippi College School of Law, has agreed to implement the CAS Studies training program because we want to make sure that these students are properly trained in dealing with children who are going to be talking about potentially traumatic events that may or may not have occurred, but we're trying to get to the root of it in the adoption clinic, because if the trauma has occurred, if they have been abused, if they have been neglected, we're trying to partner them with families, foster families, who want to adopt them and give them a forever home. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, when I think about just in my business career, interacting with lawyers in a variety of practice areas, as you do, of course, in business, this seems a little unique in that perhaps the attorney is placed in a situation where they're not only counseling on law, but maybe serving as kind of a therapist, even in some cases, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you gotta have it's a little different approach when you're, of course, interacting with a child as it is deposing someone in a business suit, for example.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's a brilliant observation, because I will say that when you come to my law office, it doesn't necessarily look like a lawyer's office. It's inundated with Hello Kitty. It's got colorful paintings and things that make a child feel comfortable, that makes a family feel comfortable, because the goal is to establish a rapport with these children. You know, they're humans, they're people, and our goal is to give them a voice so that they can feel heard. And if we're going to advocate for them, we've got to give them that space to open up to us and create that relationship. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We're counseling them, we're talking about situations, and we're trying to figure out, you know, exactly what happened and how can we counsel these people to emerge from this predicament in a superior position.
You know, children, it occurs to me, are just sort of naturally conditioned to trust adults. And when adults abuse that and betray that trust, and it becomes abusive to the child, how does the lawyer then, in working with a child, earn that trust so that they will speak openly and perhaps get them the resources they need to help them out of this situation?
That's a great question. I think one of the things that I have learned in my experience practicing with children who generally distrust, whether it's the system or the people within the system that have caused them to bounce from home to home, the goal is to get in there and try to find something endearing about that juvenile, about that child, something that doesn't place the attention on you. You're not trying to get that child to like you, because at that moment it's making you the center of attention. You're not the focus, the child is.
Sure.
So your goal is to get in there and to find something endearing about that child and to figure out what it is that I can do to make them understand that I hear you, I see you. And at that moment, you make that child the nucleus of everything else that's going on and not yourself. So that's what we try to do in the clinic when we're meeting with these juveniles, with these children. Our goal is to try to find something endearing about them and establish a rapport so that they can open up and trust us. Because like you said, a lot of times once they've had these situations, they begin to distrust the people that are essentially there to protect them.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate.
We got about a minute left, but I do want to ask you, do you, in the law school curriculum, in the curriculum of this study area, this practice area, do you teach these sorts of skills? Because this is a little different than just studying the law.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have simulations in the classroom that mimic all of these skill sets so that we can have the law students sit there and make the mistakes that they're going to make in the classroom so that then when they get out there in real cases, they know what they're doing.
Makes perfect sense. Crystal Welch, Advisory Board Member with CACM, the Mississippi College School of Law, has been our guest. We're stepping aside for a break. It's top of the hour. That means Fox News, SuperTalk News. We're coming.